Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy CL Anthony and my main man Bryce Ward. Bryce, what is up?
Not much. Second try, not bad.
So the people don't need to know that I messed up the intro, but thank you. Okay, how about that? So
It's okay. We know. As long as we know.
I hope everyone enjoyed our NBA season preview a few days ago. That was fantastic. We had the Hardwood Nation crew on, but today we're going to do a deep dive into the Eastern Conference, which is near and dear to our hearts, of course, because both of our teams are in the Eastern Conference. So last year, I'm gonna read the top 10 from last year and see, how we think things are gonna change this upcoming season. So you had the Milwaukee Bucks, the Boston Celtics, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Cleveland Cavaliers, which no one's talked about yet this offseason, the New York Knicks, the Brooklyn Nets. Those were your top six. Then you had your play-in teams. The defending, let me back up. The reigning and defending Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat, the Atlanta Hawks, the Toronto Raptors, and the Chicago Bulls. So that's where we're going to stop right there. Right below Chicago, I will give a little love to three teams. The Pacers, who are 5 games out of the play-in, the Wizards, who are 5 games out of the play-in, and then the Magic, who are 6 games out of the play-in tournament. So, with that said, we now have Damian Lillard, of course, in Milwaukee. Milwaukee was already number one. And then we have Drew Holiday in Boston, of course, who was number two. And then lurking around, again, are the reigning and defending Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat. So you got to give them some love for making their finals run. So, with that said, we've had this conversation offline. We kind of had it the other day, but right now we both have the stage. How much does Dame move the needle on a team that won 58 games last year and was number one in the Eastern Conference?
I don't even know if he has to do that. They just have to have. They have to all learn how to play playoff basketball together. The regular season will be dress rehearsal for that because unless Dame or Giannis gets hurt, I think even if we don't think they're going to win a championship, we know they're going to be in the playoffs. So it's all about them just learning to play together and to cover up for whatever defensive efficiencies they might have now with moving Holiday out and bringing Dame in. It's going to be about Dame and Giannis learning how to play off each other, play pick and roll with each other, that kind of thing. But um, I I'm not gonna sit here and say they're like a shoe in for a championship run. I'm not gonna say that, but I think they make the playoffs easily, and I think it'll just be focusing on continuity and getting on the same page. Because bringing in a guy like Dame isn't always the easiest thing to integrate, especially when everybody else on the team has been there for a while and know what's going on.
Good breakdown. I don't think he moves the needle at all with that particular franchise, and I've talked about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think defensively, as you mentioned, they've taken a step back. No shots at anyone. They've taken a step back. I think offensively, Dame has to be the guy. And I don't know if they're ready to do that yet. I don't know if they're ready to do that yet. They have to speed up their tempo a little bit, should Dame be the guy. And then you have coaching. You have a first year head coach. So let's see how he can. And he was a decent role player in the NBA, Adrian Griffin. But let's see how decent he can be at controlling those personalities. Now we know Giannis is coachable. We know Dame is coachable, but we just have to see if they can mix together. I think they have to come out with an intensity in the regular season that they haven't had in 2 years. Since they've won the championship, they've had absolutely no intensity in the regular season. They've just been going through the motions. They've been so good
Right.
That it didn't really matter in the regular seasons, but it was telling in the playoffs.
Mm.
But they've just been going through motions for 2 years. So hopefully Dame can be that shot in the arm. So this is what I expect from Milwaukee. For me to take them serious, I need them to burn through the league. I mean, come out, burn through the league, win about 65 games, and blow motherfuckers out. That's what I need from them. And then I would be like, oh, okay, maybe I can take y'all serious now. But until then, it's not gonna happen. I do want to pivot to Boston for a couple of reasons. I said the other day, and the consensus of the round table was that Boston actually made the biggest move in the offseason by getting Drew Holiday in there for a multitude of reasons. But I do want to ask you this really quick because Drew Holiday's wife was pretty upset with the way that Drew was traded and how Drew was treated. I know you saw a little bit of it. Do you share her sentiment, or are you just strictly it's a business and deal with it?
Well, there's a human side, so I can definitely, as another human being, feel for her and that family in that moment. But it's not like this happens all the time. It happens a lot. It happens every day with most normal people, except a lot of people don't get the opportunity to, I guess, take their job elsewhere. I mean, it sucks because you have to get up and move your family, but you're still doing what you love. You're still getting paid millions of dollars. It's inconvenient. It's annoying. It can make a person feel like they're less important, but you have to go into it with the right mindset. I mean, we've seen the biggest stars in the league basically get treated the same way. And in no way, shape, or form is Drew Holiday better than anybody else in the league in terms of like what he deserves more so than another player. So yes, I feel for them on a human level, but at the same time, it is a business. This isn't the first time you've been traded. We see this every year with multiple players. It is a business. I mean, whoever is in charge of making these decisions, if they did it based off loyalty, they wouldn't be there long enough to be loyal to many other people anyway. So it doesn't make any sense. It's a business. It sucks. Just got to deal with it.
Got it. I think the fact that she was so upset and the fact that Drew was upset via her statement was that so let's use Tyler Hero as an example. He's in trade rumors every year, sometimes twice a year at the trade deadline and in the off season. So Tyler's used to hearing his name and stuff like that. I think Drew thought he was going to finish his career in Milwaukee. His
Hmm.
name wasn't in trade talks at
Right.
all. I think his name would have came up next season, which was the final year of his deal, but his name wasn't in trade talks this season. So I think that's why they both felt like he was a little blindsided by what happened, and rightfully so on both sides, because apparently the Bucks ownership didn't even talk to Giannis about this trade. Like no one knew this trade was happening, so they kept everything under wraps because I think Giannis might have would have felt a certain type of way about Drew being traded as well, so that's why they didn't tell him. But I mean, he has Dave now, so he does have an offensive upgrade. But to get back to Boston, boy, do they have an upgrade now, defensively, offensively, and from a leadership standpoint.
Hmm.
How much of an impact do you think NBA champion Drew Holiday, my boy, will have on the Boston Celtics?
Well, one of my biggest questions for the Celtics was how are they going to replace not just the defensive tenacity of Marcus Smart, but also his locker room presence. And I don't see Drew Holiday as the kind of energetic leader as maybe Smart was, because when you see Smart, he just seems like a bundle of energy. Kind of seems a little in your face in a good way, and nothing bad. And Drew Holiday, I think, can bring the same things to that locker room, but in terms of I've been there already. Like I've been
Mhm.
to the mountain. We won. I haven't been on that team as long as Smart was, of course, so I can't come in and just start talking to people the way Smart did. But you also have an experience that other guys, many players in the league, don't have. So it would be smart for Holiday to go in there with a leader type mentality and for Boston to listen. I mean, we all know it's Tatum's team, and then you go, Brown, but in terms of who actually have accomplished anything, that's only on Holiday. So they would be smart to listen, and Holiday would be smart to go in there with the right voice and the right tone, and I think that's something the players would respond to. I'm sure there's not anybody. I'm sure there's very few players in the league that would have anything bad to say about Holiday. So I think it'll be a seamless fit. And in terms of replacing what Marcus Smart brings to the court, I don't know if you could have had a better trade scenario or had another guy come in, because he's arguably still one of the best defenders in the league, and he can still make threes and still do what the team needs him to do at point guard, and he's not undersized. So it's an upgrade in my eyes. I mean, if you're going to replace Smart, I don't think you can found a better option.
Yeah, I believe it's a fantastic upgrade, and I believe again for a multitude of reasons, it's the biggest move of the offseason. Because what Boston needed was not just leadership, because they had that with Smart, but leadership with a purpose.
Mm.
Smart's never been an NBA champion. He's never been a college champion. God knows that coach doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Now, I have heard that Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown have been more vocal since training camp started, so that's a good thing. So the Drew Holiday effect may already be working. Um,
I
Boston's going
feel
to be
like
dangerous.
might be more on the clock more than ever, because I mean they've made it to the finals, they've lost, they've made it to the conference finals and lost. The time's running out with Tatum and Brown, and so you're not far off. You just got to tweak a few things, and I think this year they tweaked more than they have the last couple years, and so on paper it looks nice. But let's see, because they're not far off, but let's see if their little tweaks were enough, because I'm still skeptical it's enough to win a championship, but I definitely do think they got better.
Here's the thing about Boston, and more so Jason Tatum since he's been there, which is telling to me. They have been in the conference finals since Jason Tatum has been there. I believe the number is 6 times. That is amazing.
Mhm.
That is absolutely amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's been 5 times. So Jason Tatum's been in the NBA, I believe this is 7th year coming up, 6th or 7th year, and they've been in the conference finals 5 times, and they've went in that 5 in those 5 years, they've only gone to the finals once. It's impressive to look at and say, "Hey, this team's been knocking on the door since this kid has been there," but like you said, they just haven't gotten over the hump. Could this
If
be the
you're
year?
Boston, if you're Boston with all those previous championships, then I mean, come on, it's championship or bust.
Right, it's like torture. It's like torture, like you're knocking on the door and you just can't get over the hump.
It's better than being like fourth or fifth and not making it to the conference finals every year, because there's a lot of teams trapped in that for a long time. But
Right,
but
right.
I mean, Eastern Conference final trips that many years in a row, I mean, it's enough to get you excited. It's just outside of Boston, like there's a lot of teams that would be happy with that and be like, yeah, we fell short. But I
Mhm.
mean, Boston, LA, there's a few of these teams where if you're not winning championships, it doesn't matter.
I mean, two of those 5 losses did come to the Miami Heat. Um,
We're talking about the
let's
Celtics.
let's
Give
pivot.
the
Let's
the,
pivot
the Heat will
to
have their chance, sir.
let's pivot to the Philadelphia 76ers. So, James Harden didn't show up for the first couple of days of training camp, but he decided to play nice to see if maybe they'll trade him if he be's nice. So he's there now. They're in Colorado for some ungodly reason. It's bullshit. That's where they're having their training camp at. It's like, are you guys serious? Um, so the Sixers, who up until the Boston getting Drew Holiday, who I thought on paper is still the most complete team in the Eastern Conference. in the event that Philly doesn't trade Harden this year, knowing that Harden's in training camp, what do you think the Sixers can do this year coming off of Joel Embiid's MVP season? And pretty much the same team they've had last year, which is a good thing.
If they don't trade Harden, do you really think Harden goes out there and plays with the heart and tenacity that even with little expectations we have of him in those departments, do you think he comes out and plays like he did last year and is as valuable as he was last year to that team? Because if his mental state isn't there, which has always been an issue anyways, then I mean, not in terms of whether or not he wants, if he's like mentally healthy enough to play. It's a matter of if he wants to be at a certain location or not. Do you really think with the issue with Harden, if he goes into this team, they don't trade him and he plays the season, do you really think they're as good with Harden as they were last year with that Harden? Because I have my doubts. And then they haven't proven anything really. They haven't made it to the finals yet. They
Right.
barely got through their first season where Embiid was healthy and long enough to win an MVP, where he didn't take himself out of it. Maxi, for all the talent and potential, looks great and looks like a future great piece to have. Still too young to have proven anything. And then you got Tobias Harris, who is fun. So
Present day Trevor Ariza.
yeah, like nothing bad against him, but you're talking about a third or fourth option on your team, a reliable third or fourth option. I'm not dissing Tobias, but he's not winning you a championship, as we like to say around here, right? So it's hard for me to really see Philly getting over on the other three top teams in the East, which is Miami, Boston, Philly. Could they? Yes. With the situation with Harden and them not really making any other big moves, which I see why they wouldn't. You wouldn't think they would have to, but the Harden situation is so pronounced here that it's hard for me to look around that. And so, yeah, will they be good? Yes. Will they be a top team in the East? I don't think they'll be. I don't think they're coming out of the East. I'll say that. I see them as coming up. If they had to play the first time they play Milwaukee, Boston, or the Heat, they're out of the playoffs. So I think they made the playoffs, obviously, but I don't think they make it to the finals. And if with that kind of success and having the reigning MVP and having the support around him, it should be finals or bust.
This is what I'm gonna say, and I'm in a minority in this. And I don't care, of course. I think we're gonna see two things this year. Well, three things. Joel Embiid taking a step back by virtue of coaching with Nick Nurse being there, and I think he's okay with that. I also see Joel Embiid taking more of a leadership role, which he hasn't typically done before, but he's getting older now, and this is the time to do it to get James Harden under control. I think if Nick Nurse gives James Harden the reins that Doc Rivers didn't, I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. But they have to do those things. So we
They've
know
had
what
issues
Joel Embiid.
before. You think Embiid and Maxey are gonna want to do that after Harden showing his ass? I mean, in a good. So we agree, Harden maybe not the main reason for all these shenanigans. Like there is some
Right,
legitimacy to him being upset. But with that being
right.
said, do you still think Embiid and Maxey are going to get behind the team, giving him the ball after some of these things? Because it started off rocky there to begin with, and then we've had these other shenanigans. So do you think they do that?
For the betterment of the team, that's the best move to make. So that's why I said we're gonna see. We have to see, and by no means is Joel Embiid a selfish player. By no means, he's phenomenal. But you do have to cater to Harden a little bit to kind of smooth things over. That's the only way this can work. Joel has to take a step back, lower his touches, let James Harden do his thing, Joel already has his MVP now. He has it. Take a step back. You're good. We know what you are. You're great. You're good. I think James Harden has to be the first option. I think Nick Nurse might do this to smooth this over to keep him there. So you may see that happen the first couple of months of the season. And then if it doesn't work, then they're probably going to move him. But if they do those things, I still think Philly's a dark horse for upsetting someone. Who they're going to upset? I don't know. I will tell you, the basketball gods have already spoken to me. So I know one matchup that's going to happen, and I'll get into that later, which
Well,
is why I picked.
you think they've spoken to you in the past, and not everything's worked out that way. So we'll
They've
wait on
they've
that
been
prediction.
they've been right. They've been right with my Heat being in the finals. I'll tell you that. But um, I'll get into that a little later about the basketball gods because it's not what you think it is. But I think Philly could be a dark horse to upset someone. Some teams. I will give them that. So really quick, we got to blow through these next few teams. I'm not going to talk about the Heat that much. We did lose some pieces, but we actually gained some pieces. An underrated piece that we regained was actually Josh Richardson. So the majority of NBA fans won't know who Josh Richardson is, won't remember who he is. He started in Miami. He was actually the go-to guy when Wade left. Him and Hassan Whiteside played well off of each other. And then when we traded for Jimmy Butler, we had to move Josh Richardson. He was one of the pieces that Philly wanted. He's back now. He's a little older, but I think him and Jimmy Butler are going to play well off of each other. Both of them are defensive dogs. That's going to be a good thing. Where the Heat are weak at right now, the only position we're weak at right now is point guard, which I still think they're going to figure that out because Goran is still floating out there. So I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. So as far as the top four teams in the Eastern Conference, not putting anyone in order, I think we will agree Milwaukee, Boston, Miami, and Philly should be those top four teams in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland stayed the same. New York stayed the same. New York beat Cleveland handedly in last year's playoffs. Do you see any of them, those two teams, making a possible leap into the top four, or do you think they stay at 5 and 6 where they were last year?
Um, I think there's a possibility for either one of those teams to hop into the top four, especially once we get into the season and we start seeing who is. I mean, it's nice to start the season pretty much injury free, but it's unrealistic to think we're going to go a whole season where all the teams are healthy. So I think it's going to come down to with the top four teams we talked about. I think it's going to come down to who stays the healthiest. I mean, you know better than most how rough things could get for the Heat last year once you started having injury woes. So that could happen to anybody. But yes, outside of that, I think Cleveland and New York are 5-6. They both look good in the regular season last year. I don't see that really changing a whole lot.
Got it. Okay. And one mistake, they were actually 4 and 5. Forgive me. Brooklyn was 6. I keep
Yeah,
forgetting
and
Miami
then the
came out.
Heat,
Yeah,
yeah.
came out of nowhere. Yeah. All right. So Brooklyn, do you think they fall into the play-in?
At least.
Oh shit! They fall
I
out the
mean,
play.
I'm not even dissing anybody. Let's be real. Let's look at what they lost, and
Yeah.
then let's look at where they started before that loss. So, I mean, all their success was before the big trade, right? Or before
Right.
the big pieces got moved out. That's where all the success
Right.
came from. Now, did Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges have some big games? Yes. Um, is Ben Simmons finally playing basketball again? We'll see. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
he said the right things. He's been in training camp the right way. All those things are nice. Let's see. Let's see. I would love to be proved wrong on Ben Simmons. I'm not out here trying to be so right that I want a guy's NBA career to end. That would suck. But I'd have to see it. I have to see it before I believe in Ben Simmons to do anything again. Um, they might be the biggest question mark in terms of what they could do compared to results because we have no idea. I mean, there's some bottom teams that could surprise us, but in terms of what the possibilities are, Brooklyn might be the biggest wild card in the East just because it's going to be hard to gauge what they have because we haven't really seen it, not that much. Um, do you think they make the play in? Because I think it'll be tough. The East is going to be
I
tough.
think I think they make the play in by virtue of defense because they have some defensive studs. Now, offensively, Bridges did show us something that he hasn't shown us before, but before
Mhm.
that, he's a great defensive player. Cam Johnson is a great defensive player, and Ben Simmons, when he's focused, can be a great defensive player as well. So Brooklyn, Brooklyn is not an afterthought like some people think they are. I do think they make the play in, and I'm going to tell you, Brooklyn's one piece, and I don't even know what piece it is. Brooklyn's one piece away from being a contender because everyone else on that team is that good. They might have to give up one of those three guys, but Brooklyn's pretty okay. I like Brooklyn actually for the Eastern Conference. But yeah, I think they're going to be in the play-in, which goes to my next question, and we're gonna wrap it up with this. I'm going to give you the stage really quick. I know you saw the ESPN article, and I know you didn't like a certain thing about that. What was that?
I mean, there were multiple things, but the most glaring was because we've had conversations about the East already on here, and one of the teams that we have thought definitely took a step back were the Hawks.
Mhm.
Okay. And so far, the Hawks' little tweaks every season has not proven to be successful since they've had Trae Young. I think it's almost felt like they've taken a step back every year, honestly.
Mhm. Mhm.
ESPN had them above the Heat at like 5 or 6, seventh, something like that. I can't remember now. But they had them one spot above the Heat, and that just blew me away. I know the Heat didn't have the greatest regular season last year, but they had a lot of injuries. And I know they had some important pieces move out, but it's the Heat, and those pieces weren't big until the Heat made them big. So it's okay, I think, to think that maybe their loss is less influential than it could have been with other teams. But if if Jimmy Bam and Tyler Hero are healthy, in no way, shape, or form are the Hawks better. Um, there's just no way. There's no way. I would be blown away. I would be blown away if the Hawks finished above the Heat. That was the biggest thing to me. Because we know the Hawks have been fighting for the play-in spots every year. Um, so now you're gonna have Brooklyn, you're gonna have
Mhm.
Atlanta, you're gonna have Chicago, you're gonna have
Yeah.
Toronto, you're gonna have the Magic. For anybody who doesn't watch the Magic, it's fine. The Magic are going to be there. Just wait and see. Just wait and see. All of this also is on the belief that everybody's healthy. You know,
Right.
if some of these players get hurt, these teams are falling off in a big way. That's fine. That's and then maybe Indiana, maybe.
Yeah.
You're talking
Yeah.
about. Did I miss anybody that should be fighting for a play-in spot? Because I think Charlotte is
Charlotte.
still having to figure things out. They could surprise me. But I
Mhm.
need a full healthy season from LaMelo before I know what they can do.
Well,
That,
Lamelo and Hayward, so you need a full
yeah,
healthy season from both. Yeah.
we haven't had that in a while.
Right. Right.
So, and Detroit is still, I think, a step behind. So we're talking
Right.
7 teams or 6 teams missing a finger. We're talking about 6 teams realistically fighting for the 4 playing spots.
Mhm.
Which two do you think do not get it?
Charlotte and Atlanta, and here's why. I do believe the Magic has a better lineup than both those teams. The Hawks have gotten worse. Charlotte's is injured every goddamn year. Every year they're injured. Promising young team, but they can't ever stay healthy. For a little while, Orlando was that way too. but I really think this is the year that Orlando takes the leap into the play-in. Um, so, like, if I had to pick teams for the play-in right now, I would go with Indiana, and this is not in any order. Indiana, Chicago, Orlando, and Brooklyn. Those would be my four play-in teams.
So you
Just saying.
think there's a lot of Canadians not happy with that?
Oh, fuck Toronto.
You think they should just
Absolutely.
you think they should just blow it up more so than maybe even
Yeah,
Chicago?
yeah. They need to blow it the fuck up. There's not I don't give a fuck about OG. I don't care. I don't give a fuck about Siakam. I don't care. That franchise needs to be nuked for all I care. It just needs to be nuked. Okay? Fuck Toronto. Canadians, I love you, but fuck Toronto. Just nuke it. Nuke it. Because nothing's working. When you got rid of Kyle Lowry, then Van Fleet left, just nuke it. It's okay. It's okay to start over again. Just nuke it. That's what they need to do. Toronto's an afterthought for me. Now, could they surprise us? Yeah. Every team could surprise us, right?
Hmm.
But just nuke it. It's worthless. Nuke it, start over. I know they tried to get into the Dame sweepstakes. I get it. No one wants your pieces. Just do something. Just do something, okay? Um, as far as Chicago, we know Lonzo's done. He's cooked, he's fried, he's done, he's not coming back. But with DeRozan, Levine, and Vucevic, Billy Donovan, figure it the fuck out. You got pieces there, you got a bench, figure it the fuck out. Because Chicago technically should be in the top six. I'm sorry. They
Yeah,
should be.
they should
They
be better.
should be. Right. They should be better. Billy Donovan's on the clock. If he doesn't, he's on the clock. He's a great guy. I know he has clout. He's on the clock. If I'm Chicago, if they don't make the play in, he's gone. That's just where I'm at with that.
This should be their
Um,
last year with this experiment.
yeah, it has
Mhm.
it has to be. Because they do have a lot of talent on that team and they've underachieved. But like I said, as far as Orlando, I think this is the year that you guys take the leap. I think you guys get into the play in. I hope for the fan base that you guys can actually win that and move into the playoffs. It'll be fantastic. Couple of predictions I'm gonna make, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. The basketball gods have talked to me. They've told me that I'm gonna have one matchup this year. We will see Boston and Milwaukee in the playoffs. I'm just letting you know that.
Well, I think so. I think that's an easy prediction.
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily an easy prediction because it won't happen until the conference finals, right? But we're gonna see Boston and we're going to see Milwaukee. It could happen in the second round. I would prefer it to happen in the second round, which is why I picked the Heat to advance. Because whoever survives that is going to be so worn down. It's going to be easy pickings for whoever they play against, Miami, Philly, whoever.
Hmm.
So if they play each other in an earlier round, neither one of those teams are going to go to the finals. It's going to go to Miami. It's going to go to Philly. Should Harden stay there? If they play each other in the conference finals, I have the Boston Celtics going to the finals. Okay.
Hmm.
If it happens in the conference finals, if it doesn't, I have Miami going. But I do have, however it works out, I think Boston's going to beat Milwaukee this year. And then Milwaukee's going to have to go back to the drawing board because right now, Boston's the most complete team in the Eastern Conference.
Hmm.
And boy, they're going to be tough. Should everyone stay? Should Porzingis stay healthy? He's not even the first option. He's the third option. All
Yeah.
Drew has to do is just Drew is there to dictate who gets the ball, and we know Drew can do that. Boston is fucking scary, bro. I'm telling you.
Mhm.
Boston is scary, and I do believe Boston's going to take out. I love Dame to death. I love Dame. We both love Dame.
Mhm.
Drew Holiday is so much bigger than Dame, so much stronger than Dame. Dame can't get away with the stuff versus Drew that he can get away with other point guards. It's Milwaukee's worse than that. Portland, as much as Portland fucked Miami over, they were smart by sending Drew to Boston.
Mhm.
They really were.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, Milwaukee, we'll give you Dame, But now we finna send Drew to Boston, bro. That's tough, man. That's a tough move because you can put Jalen Brown on Giannis. You can have Porzingis stand in front of Giannis. Man,
My thing is too, though, I don't have a lot of faith in Porzingis, but Boston really hasn't had their center around for important games in a while. You know,
right,
like their starter. That
right.
Boston's kind of used to playing without their starting big man. Um, so I don't think the impact of Porzingis missing games will be as dramatic on Boston. But if he's there, it kind of puts them over the top a little.
Hmm.
Um, I think without Porzingis on the court, they're a top team. I think with Porzingis on the court, they're Eastern Conference champs.
That's the
Basically,
smartest thing. That's the smartest thing I've heard you say today because, like you said, they haven't had a low post presence. They just haven't. And God knows Jason Tatum's too soft to get his ass down there with his broad shoulders. Oh, he could kill people in the post. And he says he loves Kobe so much. Kobe would take his ass in the post. That's the one thing Tatum is missing. But now he gets another year to work on that because you can have a healthy Porzingis down there. And the last thing I'll say, my fans in DC, I love you and forgive me. We did not mention the Washington Wizards. There will be another. Just like I called Sacramento 2 years ago, I'm calling Washington right now. I believe my boy Jordan Poole and my main man Kyle Kuzma. I think they could be a deadly combo together, playing off of each other in Washington. So Washington is another dark horse team for the play-in that other teams need to look out for because they do have a nice bench. They have a lot of young talent. They have a good young coach. I think Washington's going to turn some heads this year. Just saying.
if Washington moves up, then it's got to be, in my eyes, there. Indiana. I don't know what to expect from them. Um, Toronto, you could argue, takes a little step back, and Atlanta maybe takes a little step back. Those
Mhm.
are the three teams I feel like have potential for the or for the play-in, but could also
Mhm.
get knocked out. So if Washington moves into the play-in, I mean, who's going to be hurt the most? Is it Atlanta because this just hasn't worked to this point, or is it Indiana? Because Indiana's young outside of like what Buddy Hield and the I'm blanking on their other big guy. He's not really a big man, but he
No,
plays.
he's the oldest of that group.
But who? Anyways, I just don't know. Indiana's a big wild card for me because they just kind of stood still, and on paper they don't look bad with Halliburton and
Mhm.
Hill and Buddy Hill, but I definitely think Toronto and Atlanta take steps back. So if Washington
Yeah.
can come out and be competitive, I could see them taking one of their spots.
Yeah, if Indiana moves Healed, and let's say they move Healed to Washington, I'm telling you, keep your eyes on Washington. I'm telling you. So that is going to be it for this episode of the Hardwood Nation podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. We always respond. Tell us how much you love us. Tell us how much you hate us. Tell us that Anthony Davis is going to be the upcoming MVP for the season.
Hey, I said if he was healthy, he'd be in those talks last year, but he's never healthy. So
Never healthy. Everyone stay safe, and we are out.